I guess. All right, it's the lights recording. I'm in a different setup today, guys. So, hello, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to Comedians Exposed. Yeah, we have a very special guest who hails out of Philadelphia. You can
Yay,
see.
yay.
Yeah, September 1st, right? Punchline. September
Yeah.
3rd, it's a Vioxx Karaoke Lounge. Please welcome to Comedians Exposed, Andrew Thomas. Welcome.
Hey, it's great to be welcome.
How are you doing, Drew? You doing okay?
I've seen better days, but no complaints. Thankful to be here. Get to talk about comedy and all kinds of sensibilities.
Oh my gosh. Well, we are so grateful that you could be here with us to talk about comedy and all kinds of other fun stuff. First and foremost, I just want to thank everybody for listening to the podcast. It's been really fun getting feedback from people. I want to thank Drew again for being a guest. I also want to thank the patrons who help support this project. So thank you guys so much. And Drew, as I was telling you before, the whole premise of the podcast is what we do is we look at comedy from like the other side of the laughs. Like, what about comedy makes you vulnerable? How does vulnerability impact you in life? Is it something you embrace? All kinds of stuff. So let's just dive right in. I just want to know what does it mean for you to feel vulnerable?
It's a very unsettling and exciting experience at the same time.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm an older person, so like for me, like comedy, like I get to see like how the rules change, and then like us as comedians, we tend to be on a our perspective tends to be on be an outsider or objective, and we try to spin that objective into something we think is funny. And
Yeah.
seeing how like we talked a little bit about it like earlier, like how when we grew up, like certain things were like, oh, that's funny, that's natural. But now it's like, oh my God, we gotta cancel that guy, and then it's
Oh.
different. It's, it's,
What would
it's
be something that what would be something that really clearly stands out for you that was from our like youth that now would be like, ooh, is there any
uh,
like something that jumps out for you?
oh yeah, easy. Like that thing that happened with the baby and like homosexual how he got
I
canceled
didn't
about
I
that.
I didn't read enough. I heard the news headline that yeah, there was accusations being thrown, but I didn't read what happened.
Well, basically like he being a rapper, a talented rapper that is, and he basically said some like homophobic, not well thought out or educated things about the community and basically blaming them for AIDS, and it's like that's stupid. But then there's like me coming from where I grew up was like sports stars, like Kobe, he got in trouble with saying the F word. Rappers and back in the day, bitches, hoes, and then they say some kind of homophobic what slur,
Yeah.
to make a point of you not being as good as them, and it's like, oh man, when I was a kid, I was like, that's dope, and then now as a full fledged adult that's around or that's in a more inclusive I guess society.
Hmm.
Oh, yeah, inclusive society, like that's not that don't fly. So,
Yeah.
but,
It's yeah, especially like thinking about this idea of inclusivity, but what happened with him, because especially rap music to me is like so strange because I feel like it's kind of like, especially like with everything that happened with me too and moving towards this inclusivity, there's kind of a hypocrisy though, because like rap music, even still, the stuff that's being generated by both male and female rappers,
mm,
it's very sexualized. And a lot of times it's like you're still utilizing like the language that is like, kind of reinforcing those stereotypes, you know what I mean? Like almost like kind of like what he like, because again, like in rap, like there's a very masculine element you kind of have to kind of present, and a lot of the music to me comes across as like really masculine. So it's just like I think what happened with DaBaby, it's like how do you find a balance in like what is versus what should be, and because he like I feel like that's just like what's really hard with comedy. It's like, okay, what do you know? But then everybody else is saying what should be. So how do you do that? How do you do that with comedy for yourself?
Oh, I mean, I just get up there and fail. I bomb. I go. It's like I'm in a lab or I'm in the kitchen and I'm like, all right, this is what I think is funny. Let me write a couple of notes down. Let me get up on this open mic and then bomb. Or if I'm booked on a show, I say a joke or two that works. Then try the stuff I think is funny. Then hopefully I don't lose the audience too much, and then go back to some stuff that's funny. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, like that's see I know you could get my sensibility for the most part because we're from a different generation, right? One of the things that like I tell younger comics about was like, yo, you know that country music was the number one music in the world, right? And then they look at me with this like, stop lying, and it's like, no, it's the truth. And sometimes with comedy, is like the truth is just it's just funny, and it's all about how you present the truth because the audience they can see right through you if you try to give them something absurd, you know. Well,
Yeah.
not the truth, not the truth. So that's my opinion. So
Well, a lot of it, like, I feel like that's a lot of the time, like, just from what I've been having conversations with comedy, a lot of it comes back to like being your most authentic self on stage
yeah,
tends to resonate the most with the audience. But it also, in my opinion, leaves you feeling really vulnerable, because it's like, all right, as opposed to, like, say you were performing as a character or you
mhm.
just strictly wrote jokes about a topic, like, I'm going to write jokes about, pudding cups or whatever, as opposed to like real. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, you should be able to write jokes about pudding
Cosby,
cups, right?
Cosby would love that. Oh god.
But like, think about, like, if you were just like a joke writer versus, like, again, like, what are you trying to get out of comedy? Like, where do you fall? Do you fall like you're trying to be like, hey guys, this is me, I'm gonna let you know who I am, and you're gonna share yourself? Or do you feel like you're more of like, I'm gonna just go and write jokes about whatever I wanted to write jokes about?
Well, that's the thing is like I think I walk the line between both of those because like I definitely have a persona like I mean because when I was growing up like Def Jam, Comic View, like those personalities was like the urban what have you, but then it's like like I ended up stopping comedy for a little bit to go to college and then when I went to college like you read a few books, you start to start to question certain things you observe and then like how where can I find the funny in certain things, So yeah, I mean,
Do you
you
look for
see,
the funny in everything?
I try to. I mean,
Yeah.
I have no problem taking a step back and laughing at myself. So
I think it's very important in comedy. I noticed that too about comedians. Some of them are real sensitive and they get really butthurt really easily if you're like joking about them. It's like, oh my gosh, like, how are you coming up making jokes and you can't laugh at yourself first?
I gotta say, those must be the white comics because the black comics, I mean, they call it the dozens. I mean, it's like, well, like somebody that bombed that night will humble you quick. I mean, so yeah,
Uh,
I mean, like like the jokes are coming, you just take it. So
do you think then, since you brought this up, do you think there's a difference between white comics and black comics?
well, I mean, that's the thing. I know I oversimplified it, but like
No, that's what makes this hard. We're generalizing here, but everybody knows we take it with a grain of salt because,
right.
again, it's like, it's just from things that you've seen in your experiences. So it's not like,
Well, see,
don't,
like
yeah, don't worry.
well, this is the thing. It's like like if you do a hood room or like a quote unquote urban show,
Yeah.
um, like that it's gonna be mainly black people. Like, and when I say black people, like church going, like Jesus, and you have to hit a certain tense for them to like rock with you like that. And the other thing is like they see you a certain way, and then like like all right, you have a certain certain list of topics you're gonna kill with, right? Whereas when you go into a let's say a less urban room, a lot more diverse or highly educated. I can't even say, but it's just a different sentiment. It's like it's like when you're in a hood room, it's like the people that do really well are the people that capture the essence of a preacher, and they're able to captivate or like use their charisma to get the people, and then they saying rhymes and simple stories and well whatnot. And then like when you go into a like let's say a comedy club, it's different. So
Yeah.
I
I've
mean,
just
and it's,
seen too like threads, like or I've seen, especially with Facebook. Facebook is such a wonderful place to collect information because people will put shit out there. And like I've
yeah,
seen comics specifically state things like white audiences, like up middle class, upper aged white people are the worst audiences. You know what I
what?
mean? Yeah, like just and it, like I said, I'm like I don't know. I'm like, is it? And like again, you hear like some people, oh, urban rooms are better rooms, or urban rooms are harder rooms. Like you hear all of these comments and these generalities being made. So it's like, especially too when you think about doing comedy, like you can't help but like have this idea go into your head because you heard it, and it's like, oh well. Do any of those preconceived ideas that you might hear, do they ever mess up your game or get into your head? Do you let that stuff in?
Nah, not really. I mean, the way I see it is like they booked me, they paid me. I mean, I'm there to do my job. I mean, there's a time to be, wax philosophically and whatever, but that's not what I get paid to do. I mean, when I have it, then I do it. But for the most part, like I just want to be funny. And if I'm able to like help you to think about something, or it's a story that you're like, oh man, like that's funny, like I did my job. So I mean, like honestly, like I think the preconceived notions is like people they project their things out there to other people, and it's like it's all about the comic sensibility. Like with me, like I'm a hood dude that went to a community college that got into Ivy League school, and then boom, like I try to I try not to be too lazy with my thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Yeah. So what is some of the things, and because like comedy, I think you have to be, obviously you can't be lazy with your thinking, especially too like the best jokes are so smart and
yeah.
so you know what I mean. You could just tell like there's a lot of intelligence and a lot of thought put into it. So what are some of the things though that you like to joke about, like general topics?
Oh my God. This is the thing. I said all that, but like it goes back to asses and tetas. Hold up. I gotta say this. Like I don't do it all the time. And like it's like the most uh that gives me gratification. And then like going from like that voyeuristic observational like enjoying of the body. I try to go to the why. Do I like this nice butt? Ugh, that sounds weird.
Okay, that's interesting. Oh my God, I'm glad you brought that up because I used to really have a thing for guys with good hips.
I got good
Yeah.
hips.
Oh, yeah. I'm gonna check them out next time I see you. See if you a little shimmy shake.
Let me stop. Let me stop. But
But so what about that? Because I feel like too, like you know what I mean. Like those are things that are definitely relatable. Like obviously everybody has a body, so it's like it's definitely something that's really relatable to the audience. Do
yeah.
you ever make jokes about things that you could tell that puts the audience off
Oh
or
yeah.
makes
Oh
their
yeah.
buttholes clench?
Oh, I mean, like so one of the things like I joke about is trying to navigate race or like stories about how my race uh situations that I've been in my race has played a factor in it. And like one of the things is like sometimes audience members we like, my man, come on, man. Like after the fact, when I'm off stage, like that didn't really happen. I don't believe you. There's no way that can happen. Then I'll be like, man, all you gotta do is go on social media and you see people filming the crazy stuff that happens in those circles, and tell me if I'm wrong. And that's another thing. The invention of this technology, being able to people just got the cell phone and record whatever. You're like, I don't believe these people are doing it. They used to be like, I don't believe these people are doing this. But now it's like, oh, we got. It's like the gotcha culture, like we
Yeah.
got this, so they're gonna have to believe it. And for good or
I
for
mean,
good
no,
or
I appreciate it on some level because, like, you think about being gaslighted, to have that
Yeah.
footage absolutely helps, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Especially because again, like, I always just try to use my gender as an like as a anchor of hearing people when they talk about racial experiences. And it's like I know damn well as a woman I've been gaslighted and people haven't believed me and stories like that. So it's just like, there's something really validating about having that video footage now of
Yeah.
like, that you can be like, look, I've been saying this shit all along.
Right. Right.
But what about as a comedian
Mm.
with having social media and knowing that you can be recorded at any time? Does that affect you and your joke telling?
A little. Uh, I mean, the thing is, like, the beauty of the stand-up thing, if you're funny, like, people gonna whatever with you, they gonna rock with you, or if you appeal to their sensibility, or hell, like, I'm not big enough to generate an audience, so I can't worry about my quote unquote fans because I ain't got none. So, but the, what how can I say it? Would like from what I gather on the outside looking in, like to see the people that's in the game, like heavy in the game, like that could hinder your ability to get higher up. And I don't know. I mean, that's the thing. I'm speaking from a point of like of ignorance. So yeah, I'm stupid. Don't mind me. I'm stupid. The
No.
painkillers, the painkillers kicked in, and I'm all over the place.
But you're not stupid, you're just relaxed. Yeah.
No.
That's good then. Let's see what else we can get out of you. What about, so let's go back to again, like vulnerability. So
Okay.
where do you feel that you do you like to be vulnerable? Do you embrace it? Do you lean into it, or is it something you actively avoid?
Uh, Growing up as an '80s baby, like I try to avoid it, but like I think all the good like stand up, like you approach something that you're vulnerable or you have I have a question, and then I'm like, why and a what, and then I try to write a joke from there, like my little Seinfeld voice goes off, like why do we, and then I try it, and then sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But what about in life, aside from comedy? Like, what about things in life? Do you feel that you live, are you a more person like a risk taker?
See, this is the thing. Like,
Or do you like,
I'm trying to wrap my mind around like your idea of vulnerability and try to apply it to me.
well, it is your own idea of vulnerability. Like, again, I know what, for me, vulnerability, like, I have an idea of, like, again, I feel exposed. It leads me to feeling potentially like I could be rejected. It's like, that, like, what if, like, you're putting yourself out there, and what if, but that's like, vulnerability is a lot of different things. Like, you could think about physical vulnerabilities. Like, again, like, how does the audience see me? What do I look like? Are they judging how I look? Or
Okay.
like again, like right now, Drew has his foot in a boot, so your mobility is limited. So it's like, oh, is that impacting, my vulnerabilities?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I would be out more telling jokes if I trusted some of the comedians. I got this weird thing in my mind. Like I go out to somewhere and I'm trying to tell jokes, and the comedian, oh, I'm gonna be funny. I'm gonna take your crutch, and then they're like, I gotta be like, hey, give me back my crutch. And then they're like, oh, look at me, I'm Drew. And I'm like, that's one of my biggest nightmares. So yeah,
Oh no, and that, yeah, because then you don't have it. You're very vulnerable.
I'm
Oh my
super
god.
vulnerable. All I gotta do is take one of my crutches, and I'm done. So yeah, like give me back my crutch. So yeah, like I do have I think I think I do have like I guess like anytime you're trying to do something you're passionate about, you're vulnerable, especially with the way that, things are set up. I mean, see? This is the thing. Like nowadays, like I see somebody create a podcast, and they have like 2 or 3 guests on there, and next thing you know, boom, like they're making hundreds of thousands of dollars off of their podcast, and it's like, oh,
Wow.
that's brilliant.
That's not the case here with this podcast at all. In fact, I have talked about how doing the podcast makes me feel like vulnerable. Like every time I release an episode, I always have like such anxiety because I'm like, oh my, yeah, I'm like, did I sound like an idiot? Was I rude to the guests? Oh my gosh, how, and it's like this whole like mental, like psychotic process, which I'm very, honest with the audience about because that's the whole crux of this is like, okay, guys, I'm going to unload my neuroses and then I'm going to loop other people into my neuroses and see if they're neurotic like me, which oftentimes you're not, but at least you talk to me. It makes it feel better.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Oh man. Yeah, and I guess like with me, like I naturally I got trust. Well, I can't say naturally, but I have trust issues, and one of the things about like that's beautiful about stand-up comedy, like the trust issues really don't play any part. Like it's either you trust the joke from trying it so many times and reworking it and tooling it to getting it right, so you could trust that the joke will work until it doesn't. Then you're like, damn, go back to the drawing board, right? And then I guess like sometimes I just don't trust some of the people around. This is going all over the place. Thank you for being my therapist right now. Uh, uh, it's just trying to. See, the idea of vulnerability is like we do that so much, but then there's layers to it or levels to it, and I'm trying to unpack like the concept, but
Well, like I guess too, like I don't know if this helps as well because, like again, for me, because you mentioned trust, and for
yeah,
me, my brain initially like went to trusting myself because that, like for me, like doing comedy was it took a long time, and even now I still struggle with this idea of trusting myself, like trusting myself, am I funny? Like aside even from the material, you know what I'm saying? Like
yeah,
trusting myself, like Deanna, you want to do this, but do you really want to do it? Like trusting your inner gut,
yeah,
So like I said, for me, like doing comedy becomes very vulnerable because it's like here now you're putting yourself in this position where you're being looked at and then you're talking and you're supposed to be funny. And to me,
yeah.
it's like, ugh, it's really uncomfortable, but I keep doing it. So it's like, I just want to know for other people, is it like, does it create anxiety or is it something that just for you is just like
I can tell you it's cathartic.
cathartic?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, super cathartic.
yeah.
It's one of the things like when you hear other comedians like do the cliche like it's therapy and whatnot,
Mhm.
it's really like it feels good. It's like getting that laugh is addicting. It's addictive. Yeah. So I can honestly say like outside of weed, like laughter, like that
Yeah.
make that fuels me.
When
Yeah.
have you used humor to survive something difficult?
Before stand-up comedy, like uh, I've been in group homes. I've been in foster care. Like I've had it. I think all people had it hard. It's just like it's all about like subjective. But like yeah, like I had a rough go of it, and I continue to have a rough go of it with my torn Achilles. But I mean, just grateful for when I get to do the dope stuff like this, or rock a mic, or enjoy that delicious edible.
Yeah, for sure. Well,
Yeah,
I think that's one of the best rules I remember, the noble truth of Buddhism. The first rule is you're going to suffer. When you can
yeah,
accept that, you'll be fine. Like, because that's what life is. You can't be alive without all the shit. And personally, I love comedy for that because it's like comedy, like you said, it is super cathartic.
yeah,
I've had this conversation with quite a few comics that it allows you to reclaim narratives on trauma and
yeah,
rewrite it and take and release things. So there is something so therapeutic
yeah,
about it. It's educational. It's really definitely something that makes things, palatable for people, like to talk about difficult stuff. But if you could do it with a joke,
right.
it makes it definitely more palatable. So it's like it's a really powerful outlet. What got you into comedy?
Um, I don't even remember. I just knew I was funny, and and uh I went to the Laugh House. This is a comedy club in South Street a long time ago, and I was like, damn, these guys are funny. Let me try to be funny. And it took like a good like 2 weeks of going and chickening out before I went up on stage and got my
Mhm.
first bomb out the way. So and then I continued to bomb for like a good year or two. So yeah.
Bombing is so important, but
Yeah.
it's yeah.
Oh yeah. Especially like with the Philly bomb, like the way that like the audience in Philly is,
Uh-huh.
they're like, know that you suck. And it's like please don't throw nothing else at me. So,
Oh my, that's so funny. I've heard that too. Andy Malafarina, I talked with him and he was saying how I guess one of his really bad bombs, he was they cut the lights on, but he was like everybody before was like, get off the stage. And he's like, why are they being so mean to me? I'm like, oh my God, that would be so traumatizing. Oh my God. What about your bombs? Do you like are they vivid in your memory? Like do you remember like it really clearly?
Not all of them.
Or
Like it's like most of the
what's
good
the
ones.
one that you what one sticks out to you?
The one where I forgot what I was supposed to say. I got so for a good for the first like my first year, like I used to forget what I was going to like my jokes like on stage. And so like it'd be a good minute or two of me just my name is Andrew Thomas. And then walk away. And then like eventually like I would mess up the way I would joke that I write. Like, yeah, man, like look at the hair on John Street. He looks like Kobe as a treasure trove. So yeah, I mean it's like I would forget the wording and setup and all that, and it's like yeah, it was bad. It was bad, and
Yeah.
it was a great learning experience. I
It's
mean,
great. And I feel it helps in life. Like it
yeah,
really helps with letting shit go, like
yeah,
releasing the ego. You know what
yeah,
I mean? Because
yeah.
there's something so humiliating and so humbling about it. But then it's like, if you want to do it, you got to get up and do it again. And it's like, that
This is
really, huh?
I was about to say that's the thing that's so crazy is like I look at someone like growing up like Eddie Murphy, Michael Jordan, a comedy, right? And he was just so confident and charismatic and just dripping with like comedic genius. Like, and then when you watch some of the Def Jam people, it's like you have to have this energy, this presence to like, hey, I'm not afraid of y'all, and it's like I didn't have that. I don't even know if I still if I do have it, but it's just like it's one of them things. It's like you have. I believe that you have to have to be like on the next level. Whether you say it's confidence, arrogance, ego. I think. Well, I know in the past I used to think you have to have that, but now it's just one of the things. It's like, man, I just want to be funny and get booked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you ever do comedy going in with it, like not necessarily thinking you're going to be funny? Like, do you ever let other emotions kind of take over on stage?
Oh, joking through emotion. See, I've done that before, and it's like there's a certain energy for my type of jokes. But then, like you know how when you write, like you say to yourself, all right, I have to deliver it in this kind of tense or this kind of what have you, and like whether it's deadpan or a slow burn or something like that. I've done that, but like those I don't necessarily do as well with that. How about you?
What about sitting in the silence? Because I know like something that's I'm working on is trying to again have that slow build up, but getting tolerating being able to tolerate the quiet, being able to tolerate not saying anything. I notice like myself, I get anxious and I start talking really fast and just filling the void. And it's like, oh, and it's like, no, I want to slow down. So, what about you? How are you with tolerating the
I do that.
silence?
sometimes I do that because it's just like, all right, punchline, boom, it doesn't hit. So I'm like, thought it would go like that. And I might comment on the silence and then move on to the next.
Yeah.
I mean, don't you do that too?
I was raised, and I think this is where, like, my family, my parents are both really extroverted people. So we were conditioned to always be like pleasant and engaging and like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, always, like, I spent the weekend with my family this weekend. I was like, oh my God, y'all don't shut the fuck up. Y'all talk so much. But I realized how it's like translated to me on, like in life and on stage, because then I'll just start, and then I say weird things. Like I remember being at a funeral and just talking and like telling someone like, you smell really good, just to like fill those moments of silence, and it's
Well,
like, no, it doesn't have to always be like that. So what about you? Do you find yourself to be more introverted or extroverted?
uh, I'm naturally an introverted person. Like I said, like I've been in, like I grew up in foster care and group homes, like, and then like back at, like I've lived with different family members. Um, I try to keep to myself. Like that's the trust issue thing. Is like like try to navigate different people, and like you never know. And it's like I said, the trust thing is like you don't know what their hidden agenda is. It's like, what are you trying to do? Feed me this chicken. I mean, I don't know. Is it laced with something? I mean, so it's just one of the things. Like I try to be to myself, but then like when I'm out, like when I'm around comedians, I do like I do like just be silly, and that's like, I mean, some comedians are so funny, so it's just like you can't help but want to jump in and have some fun with them. And then others, you be like, ugh, I'm gonna call the cops on you just in case, Make sure you don't do no crazy psycho stuff to nobody.
There's some weirdos. I love it. It's such a freak show. It's like, wow, you are gonna get them all. Who are some of your favorite comedians?
Well, I already said Eddie Murphy. He's the
Yeah.
man. Um, like Philly, like this guy named Two Ray Gordon. Oh, he's brilliant.
Mhm.
And then Tommy Too Smooth. Oh, he's a genius. You ever hear of him?
I haven't heard of Tommy Tooth Smooth. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a genius. Um, I also like Dave Chappelle, Cat Williams, Bill Burr, Patrice O'Neill, uh, Pablo Francisco. That dude. Whew, yeah. How about you?
Um, I love, of course, Dave Chappelle. Bill Burr is also very funny. I love Maria Bamford. I'm a huge Maria Bamford fan. She's
Nice.
just so weird and wonderful.
Yeah.
But like we were talking about before, I love Lemaire. We talked about Lemaire. He's so
Other
great in
man.
Philly. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love his energy, and then just again, like, and I love too watching comedy. Like I feel like that's like this beautiful part of seeing things and seeing what people do and seeing people how they use the stage and where they go. It's just really so awesome. Andrew, can you do me a favor? I forgot to have you do this at the beginning. Can you tell everybody where we could find you on your social media?
Oh, you can find me at Drew Dreamin 215 and Savagely Black Inc. And I got the Savagely Black podcast. So my
Yeah,
fault. Like, my roommate, he's around with a lovely young uh person.
that's good for him.
Yeah, man.
Good.
Oh, spread out.
Quarantine, quarantine was hard for us.
Oh, you see
You
him in
gotta do it when you can.
the my fault.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So what about then for comedy? Like what are you hoping to get from comedy?
Um, hopefully make this a constant income stream. Um, I love comedy, and like what I hope to do, like mainly is like it's not necessarily what I can get from comedy, but more so like what can I bring to the comedic landscape? Like if someone like was to be like, oh, this is a Drew joke, that would make me happy.
So what do you think then you're bringing to the comedic landscape?
Nothing but old, young, black energy. Like, I mean, that's weird. This is the thing. Is like, I know, like, I get, I know you hear black people, some black people that's like in the super nerdy, whatever, talk about being weird, but like, I'm like ghetto weird, It's like I'm from the hood, I'm from the ghetto. I worked my way to get up to a certain level of class, but it's not like on some extreme like oh now I'm playing basketball money. It's just like all right, I'm able to take care of my bills and maybe like my mom bill from time to time. So it was like trying to navigate that, like and I ain't got no kids, and it's like every time someone like, oh, you ain't got no kids? Are you gay? I'm like, no, I'm not gay. It just that's a lot of that's a whole lot of lot.
That's a lot.
So yeah,
Yeah.
so, yeah, I got nieces and nephews. So
There, that I feel like same thing. I don't have kids either. I have nieces, and it's like they're good, they're fine. And
exactly.
thankfully, I think the human population is okay. I don't think that we're in a situation where I need to procreate for humanity to continue.
Right,
So
right.
I'm tapping out. Thank you very much.
I've been tapped out, but
Yeah.
like within the communities that I navigate, they look at me like I'm like some kind of creeper. So
Oh,
yeah, like Latino community, like you ain't got no kids pop. I
yeah.
mean, like and my family is Caribbean, and I'm first generation American, and they be like, oh, are you sure you're not gay? And I'm like, no, I'm not gay, and it's just
Doesn't resonate with them,
yeah,
right?
it's different.
I get no, as a woman, I get it all the time. I get this. People still kind of want to set me on fire. Like, what if you're rich? Like, what's going on? And then
Right.
on top of it, then you have to hear from comedians. Last night I went to a mic and
Mhm.
literally, like, because I ordered a club soda. So one comic was like, "Are you pregnant?" And I was like, "Okay,
Wow.
asshole." And then someone else was talking to me. We were talking about our ages. And he's like, "Oh, do you have kids?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "Oh, it's probably too late for you." I'm like, "I just want to do my
Oh
5 minutes. I
wow.
just want to do my 5 minutes of jokes."
Oh wow, that's crazy. That's crazy.
But what
Wow.
about for you? Yep. That's like again, it's like for me, I chalk that up to the female experience, or maybe it's just me. Like maybe there's energy I'm putting out that people feel the need to say these things to me.
I,
I don't know.
hon- Honestly, like I don't think it's you. It's 100% those crazy. This goes to what I'm talking about with the comedians. Like they're just there's we're all a little psycho, but like some more than
No.
others. And like I understand we push boundaries or we look through whatever, but at the same time, like what can you gonna ask somebody if they're pregnant at a bar? Well,
All that's going to do is you're going to become a bit for me. That's all that happens. Like I just don't understand like I feel like as a comedian, and this is like the thing like don't you think you'd want to be careful with what you say to other comedians because in 2 minutes I'm going to be talking about your ass with a microphone in my hand like
right.
you would think that that would offer a little level of like you said comedians are I think all of us are a little bit touched
Yeah,
a little bit.
yeah.
But it's beautiful. It's wonderful. What do you think for you? What has comedy brought to your life?
Oh well, it definitely gave me a confidence in speaking in other arenas. Like even when I shouldn't have confidence, uh, being able to speak on a stage and make strangers laugh is like one of them skills that it's transferable to anywhere. And there's times where I don't want to be saying something or I like to just be to myself and like if something happened or somebody I just all right, I gotta say it. And that's what stand-up comedy has like that has helped an aspect of my personality that I didn't have before. So when I was a kid, like I just played sports. In the sports, like I would be to myself, like people talk trash, and like I didn't really talk back to them like that. But then like I just let the game speak for itself, whether it's football, fighting, basketball. But then, you know, stand-up comedy, like you're forced to engage with different muscles. So yeah.
So it's been so great being able to talk with you about all this stuff today, Andrew. I appreciate you being a guest and being willing to let me, like, you know, be analytical and neurotic about comedy. You know, it's like, oh,
Tell me your diagnosis, Doc.
oh, I don't think we've got time for that, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just kidding. Can you tell everybody though again, just let them know where they can see you, your upcoming shows?
Oh yeah. I got a show at Punchline Comedy Club September 1st. It's a showcase. Another comedy thing at Box Karaoke Lounge in the Northeast. My IG is Drew Dreamin 215, and Twitter Savagely Black Inc. And yeah, man, please support a brother. Come through. I might buy you a drink. It might just be water and ice, but it's still a drink. And
So quenches thirst.
yeah, I mean it's hot outside, so yeah. I
Yeah.
mean,
Oh,
yeah.
that's so great. Well, like I said, it's been wonderful having you as a guest today. It's really been
Thank you for
enjoyable
having me.
talking with you. Yeah, thank you
Thank you
for
for having
being.
me. If you ever have a repeat offender, by all means, I like to be a part of that.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I have some stuff in the works coming
Okay.
hopefully down the pike. I really would love to do something because, especially too, like part of it is, you know, we talk about jokes, like what are the jokes that we shouldn't joke about as comedians, but we all want to do it. And what are the things, especially with cancel culture, like we are now comedians set up against a backdrop of something that's called cancel culture, which I keep grappling with because I'm like, I don't know if it's real or not. You know what I mean? I feel like it's like, is it the
This is
right thing? Is it just shame culture? You know, like,
See, this is the thing. Like for a while there, like in Philly, there was a theater that based their thing off of canceling other comedians, and it's just like that's stupid. That's what kind of jerk slash elitist are you? You know what I mean, like everybody got their own sense of humor and brand of humor. It just I mean, I get it. Like, you know, you want to change the way the landscape is, but what always tend to happen is like people that say they're doing things for a certain group or marginalized group tend to marginalize a different group even more so, and they
mm,
already they're already a minority. So that's my 2 cents. I mean,
yeah.
ugh,
I think well, it's really complicated too because I feel like actions versus words. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like I understand, like especially too in comedy, like if you're just saying things versus how are you off stage? How are you actually acting? You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like because especially like I know like again I just think about like really like cringy things that I said on stage in terms
same
of
here.
trying to work through jokes, and it's
Mhm.
like I wouldn't want that one snippet of me trying to work through something that was said like determine my identity. But again, I feel like we've really got to be careful with this idea of canceling people because it's especially too like we talked about, you and I, we grew up
Yeah,
in the generation where this was our sense of humor,
yeah,
and it's like a lot of that is just like ingrained in us because again of classical conditioning, like thinking about Seinfeld, like I love Seinfeld, but Seinfeld has not aged well, and you watch
yeah,
some of the Seinfeld or even like you know what I mean, like it's just like
yeah.
it's like yeah, some of this stuff is like okay now it'd be bullying or mean, but it's like that was what we watched and that shit was brilliant and
Yeah.
hilarious.
Right.
So how do we now as people who are in a different climate, like you know what I mean, like with these
Oh yeah.
rules versus
Oh yeah. I mean, I agree with you fully. Like, I got, shit, I got a cat calling joke, and it's like now with the, well, I just thought it was hollering at a chick, and now it's like street harassment. People should be going to jail. You need uh, counseling. I'm like, yo, this is what young men did back when I grew up. And it's like, oh, I'm not trying to hurt nobody. I'm not trying to
no.
make you psychotic. But like, you know, it's like the older you get, the more things you learn. Like, okay, yelling at perfectly strange, beautiful women on the street is not right.
It's
Like,
not right, I know. But then also as women, you got to think about too, like for how fucked up I am. It's like as women, well, it's like there's some validation though, you know. Like a friend of mine, she was telling me a story about how some young guy approached her for a threesome, and I was like, "Well, look at you know what I mean, cougar, you know what I mean?" But it's like, oh no, we can't because it's like you can't because again we're conditioned as women and women were fucking conditioned to be like oh our values and our physicality so it's like how can you just be so quick to eradicate that shit
yeah,
especially because we don't talk about mental health we don't talk
yeah.
about therapy we don't talk about universal health care.
That's new, and that's the thing that's crazy. It's like when I grew up, somebody talk about their feelings and like I feel depressed, and the person be like, "Yo, stop being a pussy," and that'd be your grandmom or some shit. I mean, like great grandma, like you know what? In my day, I get raped, I get this, and I got beat up, and then what we did afterwards was clean the clothes and hang them out and fix the dinner. And
Yeah,
it's like, how much trauma are you dealing with?
I know. I know.
The thing is like what talking about mental health is like what 3 4 years like popular now in the US.
Yeah.
That's
It's
crazy.
it's not and even then I feel like it's not still something that it's like really open to. Like you still there's still a lot of shame, it's still a lot of stigma. And it's like that's what we need. Like it's like you can't expect people, like you said, like if you grow up in trauma, like that's just you learn to adapt, you learn to survive, you have your coping mechanisms. So it's
Yeah,
like to me, like again, cancel culture. I hate that terminology because it's like you're not then considering all of that and you're
yeah,
not considering the socialization that we experience and the role of capitalism how it plays out in pitting us against each other and you know it's so multi-layered so it's like you know I don't know personally I can't stand this idea of cancel culture and woke culture you know what I
yeah,
mean like I think
yeah.
that's the dumbest fucking expression that's come out of woke like no you fucking that's not even grammatically correct you idiot.
I mean, what I was talking like I tend to hang out with other black comics and like basically like I was like, yo, that is the widest fucking thing ever created. I mean, like it's up there with mayonnaise and fucking and whiteboard. That, how elite do you got to be to talk about
So
canceling somebody? See, that's the thing. Like culturally speaking, even with black people, we had that weird uncle or cousin that did something to somebody. We didn't cancel them. We just like, all right, you can't be left alone with them. You know what I mean? So it's just
no.
like out of oppression, we always had some. We always approached those. What's the word? I can't think of like
No, I
saying.
know what you're saying though, because I kind of, especially like thinking about like the shit that happened with Bill Cosby and how kind of
Yeah,
heartbreaking it was.
exactly.
I mean, obviously,
He did the shit.
you know, but like
Obviously,
again,
he
like,
did that shit.
huh? What'd
I'm
you
just
say?
gonna say, obviously, he did that shit.
No, he did it. Whether you know, absolutely, he did it. I was talking about the fact though, like, as for the black community, like he was a success,
Yeah,
and you know what I mean. Like then to have that like taken away, it's like, oh, you know what I mean? Because again, I feel like the black community, because again, you're obviously like the minority class. So you have to constantly keep yourselves elevated internally, you know what I mean? Because again, there
yeah,
was already so many outside threats. So I feel like there was a lot of complexity in
yeah,
what happened with Cosby because obviously he did it. Like it's horrible and it was disgusting, but there was also this other layer of sadness to it
yeah,
because then you're looking at like again it's just like different micro communities and what they do and how they function like you were talking about with like that uncle like the weird
yeah.
uncle and you know and it's like those are the things like again it's not so simple like it's like and when we have these gross little terms that we can put hashtags on it's like you're taking away the complexity of the conversation and like the dialogue and you're taking the complexity of the way like just so much stuff that was involved in that like all the people that assisted Cosby you
See,
know like
this is the thing that I always find interesting. Is like, what you said right there is like after the snowball effect of it becoming like part of common sense or common social a shared knowledge, right? Like before that, it was like bringing awareness to it. But then at what point do we acknowledge that? All right, it's no longer bringing awareness to it. It's just becoming. It doesn't have. It becomes a tiger without teeth. You know what I mean?
Yes, it's
You know.
exactly. And this is, I think, what it also does is really kind of takes off ownership on you as the individual.
Yeah.
Like, one thing that we've got to take away from all of these things is like, you've got to fucking say it. If you're uncomfortable, like, if you make a joke, Drew, and I'm uncomfortable with it, I'm going to come up to you and say, Drew, this joke made me uncomfortable because why? And it's like, you might say, okay, I'm going to keep doing it, whatever, because that's your decision. But I have a responsibility to let that person know as well. Like, I can't let someone else fight my battles. Like, you have to define your own level of comfort as well. I feel like that's a big part of it, you know?
I mean, honestly, I think that's a healthy way to do it because most people won't even do that. I mean, and honestly, like with the person, like let's say if I did say a joke that made you uncomfortable, if I'm a comic that cares about the art of comedy, I'm gonna take what you say and I'm gonna dissect it and then
Right.
and say to myself, why didn't it work with her? I mean,
Mhm.
like whenever I say like whenever I got a joke that's what I think is in the term of gay or transgender, I try to go to an open mic that's hosted by a gay person or a transgender, and if I bomb there or they be like, oh, that's disgusting, I'm like, okay, tell me why didn't it work? Because at the end of the day, like I want a joke that works everywhere.
Mhm.
So I don't want to like say a joke and then it's like, oh, you're attacking the homosexual LGBTQ AB community, and it's like, no, I'm not trying to do that. I'm
Yeah.
trying to find the funny, and
Yeah.
I'm I'm willing to allow myself to be vulnerable enough to be criticized by that community.
Yeah.
So it's just, I mean, and that's all it is. Like when us as comedians, or us as like whenever you get up on stage or you're in a public sphere, you open yourself up to criticism, and it's just like, hey, it is what it is.
Yeah, that's what it exactly. And it's just kind of like, people, you're never going to please everybody, right? Like the Buddhists say, you're going to suffer. So
Right.
someone's going to hate your joke somewhere. And like, I'm not afraid to apologize. Like if I did something that, like, again, I'm sorry that joke offended you. And like, again, but some jokes, like, again, if I feel that it works and I like it and I like how it's written, I got to be true to myself and not, necessarily not worry about, like other people. Again, it's like really just kind of, but being willing to have confrontation, being willing to have discussion, and recognizing that you can disagree with people and it doesn't have to be the end of the world.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, well, Andrew, it's been great again talking with you today. Thank you
Oh,
so much.
well, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that this was supposed to be over like 10 or 20 minutes ago. Sorry about that.
Uh, no, it's okay. It was so good. No, I'm glad we got to dive right in. I could keep chatting, but again, like I know, I try to keep the episodes
Short.
to a certain amount of time because, you see podcasts, yeah, they're like 3 hours long. You're like, what is happening, people?
Guilty as charged. Yeah. But
Oh,
yeah,
and you
thank
want
you
to
again
plug
for
your,
having me. Oh, I'm
oh,
sorry. I was saying thank you again for having me. This
thank
was
you
great.
so much for coming.
Right on.